Welcome to Positive Connections Radio. This is Mike Cook. This podcast is directed towards first responders and others who may be suffering in silence and are fearful to ask for help. You're not alone. You don't have to lose it all in order to get help. Trust yourself, stand up, and break the stigma.
Hey, brother. Cheers.
Hey, man. Cheers.
How's my hair? Cheers.
You're looking great. You're looking great. What do you got there? What kind of cup is there? Is that your name on there?
Yeah, this is my McLintock Ranch logo. I made it up myself.
Nice.
And I can see it.
I like it.
MCL, my ranch. Cheers, mate. How's my life? I'm not gonna care about video today.
You're what?
We're not gonna care about video today. I was like, how's my light? Oh, yeah.
I thought you said your life. I don't know. It seems to be pretty good. Your light's good. You're looking good. If this goes on YouTube, then it'll look fine. Don't worry about it.
Awesome.
I respect what you do, Jim. I know you were a cop for a while and had that passion to be a police officer and became a therapist. And a lot of these guys are losing their passion early on because they're not getting the necessary help. They're getting worked 24 hours at a time, days in a row, and seeing their family for maybe 1 or 2 days. If they still have a family halfway through their career, or spending their off time drinking. And
totally right. Yeah. How much is that worth? Like, you spend your time on the fire line and you get to come home for a couple of days. Well, for the first couple of days, because you haven't slept very well or in your own home bed, right? Haven't had a normal recovery period. So you're out, you're probably out like, I'm not going to say probably, you are out like a light, and then you got to go right back into the grind again.
Right.
It's not healthy, not in the least. And like we've talked before, and as you know, there's so much research on how important sleep is,
Yeah.
Very, very important.
Well, how can you get sleep when you're coming home and let's say you're not on mandatories, but you have 2 or 3 days off in a row and you're spending that time drinking to get to sleep.
Yeah.
You're not getting the proper sleep you need, the rest, and you're going back to work and sort of half-cocked, and after a while you sort of lose that passion for what you're doing because the demands are so rough, and especially in this day and age with anti-police, anti-fire sentiment around, and it's not a lot of people. There's a small group of people that are making a big deal about it because of social media, and that's something we just can't stop. So
very true.
We got to protect our men and women who are actually doing the work out there, and the ones that have done the work, there's good help available for sure.
Right. And it's a great point you bring up about how much money are agencies spending on mental wellness versus hiring the people they need to staff properly.
Right.
And to give everybody the time off that they need to reload, recharge, relaunch, and to spend times with their families and everything. I'm not a math major. I'm not a budget guy. Math hates my guts, and I tend to hate it right back. but the common sense speaks to me a lot. When I've got 40 or 50, maybe even up to 60 CAL FIRE clients, and it's all the same common denominator. How can I help you? I need a day off. I need to rest. I need to see my family,
Yeah. It's important. I think it has a lot of things to do. There's a couple different things I see it's the whole, tradition of being a first responder, firefighter, or a police officer, and just sort of suck it up. You're doing the job. You're the one that signed up for this job. You should be able to handle it. If you can't handle it, go see someone. We're required to have you go see someone, come back fixed, and go back to work again.
Right.
And what I'm seeing, people coming in, at least to the simple program, First Responder Wellness, is that they come in, they're worried about their job. They're worried about the last couple of years of their retirement. They need to do 2 more years. It's the golden handcuffs. And they've done this whole career. They're going to get a pension, 3% at 50 or whatever they were at the time. And I'm seeing a lot of them saying it's not worth it. It's not worth it. The recovery I'm getting now, we've had a few people that have seen you, probably currently seeing you too. And they're getting top-notch quality help because we're not going to go out and seek help on our own if we can't 100% trust who we're seeing. And if I'm not going to go see any kind of therapist, because a lot of us here, at work, oh yeah, I went and saw this shrink, and I made her or him cry, and they couldn't deal with my things, and they wanted to know more about it, and they're asking me questions like it was something that they were like watching some entertainment show and questioning me about. They want someone they can trust and has been, walked in their shoes, or at least have walked in their emotions before with other people. Yeah. It does help to have someone like that, because most people won't get help if they don't have it.
It's a great point that you make on that one too, Mike. And I hear it a lot, and it's funny because some of my more higher on the narcissism spectrum clients will absolutely test me and want to know how I'm going to react to things, and then after I pretty much kind of call them on it, they start laughing, and they go, well, I was just seeing, it's almost like, what's that movie, Good Will Hunting? Can I bluff you? Can I get you to say what's all the clinically appropriate terms you're going to say to me? Can I get you to go down that road? And
right.
I hear you, brother. I go, but I'm here to help you. And if you want to play games, I think I'll just forward you to somebody else, you know? So, but it's funny, you call them on it and they respect you. I hear it all the time. You want to have empathy. You want to have a heart. You want grace and mercy. But they say all the time to me, I don't want to curse on your show.
You can curse. You're bullshit. Bullshit.
Thank you. You know where I'm going. Call me on my bullshit. Right? Yep. Hit me straight. Call me on my bullshit. Every client I say, hey, how do you want this? How do you want me to help you? Do you want me to kind of dance around the barn a little bit? What do you need? Or do you need it straight? Give it to me straight. All right. Here's the deal. And you start leaning in. It's so it is that cultural competency piece for this profession, like we talk about law enforcement, fire service, paramedics, everybody in the emergency responder profession. It is critical. They're smart people. They're oftentimes hard to be vulnerable, because we've talked before about how awesome it is to have these professionals be so strong and so tough, especially in this day and age with all that's going on around them. And yet they're the first to go into the emergency, while the rest of us are running out of it. They're the first to go into it, but getting them to open up and be vulnerable and talk about what's going on, which is always the first place to go in therapy. And who wants to go there, right? Who really wants to go and talk about things that they're having a hard time with and trying to stuff behind it? And do they feel weak as part of the process? Are they scared that they're going to lose their job, or, go down that road?
Exactly. And you brought up such a great point, dude, that word vulnerable. I mean, who wants to say that they're vulnerable, especially a first responder, firefighter, police officer, anybody in the first responder realm? That word is a negative. I'm not a vulnerable. It relates to me as being a victim, being someone that can't control their emotions, that can't get through a situation. Now, having that thick exterior and having that training, because we all get hired for this position, we're the top of the top. We're hired for a certain reason. However, we are still human. And I think over time, we develop and we get trained that way, that you have to keep your emotions in. You have to have command presence on scene, take care of business, be professional. All the training that we do, entering buildings, setting up perimeters, doing surveillances, whatever we're doing, contacting victims, making death notifications. I mean, some of those things, consoling a mother who has just lost her baby to SIDS, or God forbid, murder, getting shot at, all those things, and the adrenaline dumps, what we contact in the street, whether it's a burning building or a forest, or you've got a barricaded suspect, or a high-speed pursuit. And there's a point where everything does end and your adrenaline, everything gets dumped, and so when we are able to remove ourselves from that situation and have the courage to, pick up that 1,000-pound telephone and call someone, call anybody, call you, call me, call someone that they know in their organization that said one time, hey, if you ever need help, here's the number to call.
Right.
And once they do call, that they trust that Jim on the other line is going to say, okay, well, let's make an appointment. Let's talk about what's going on. And once you do get them and they feel that they trust themselves enough to open up to you, and they will test you. If other clinicians, of course, are listening that, want to deal with first responders, you BS them once, it'll spread like wildfire and your name will be tarnished for sure. So, and they can call bullshit really quickly. So, and they want to be called on their stuff too. So, and that's a form of respect. Like, okay, this person's not going to let me get away with stuff. Right. It's not going to be colored by numbers. I'm going to go with the program. I really don't want to be here 100%, but I think it's really healthy that I get this stuff out because I can't tell my wife these things. So,
and I've never seen it fail yet, Mike, when a person, someone in the emergency responder profession has reached out to me, and because we've both been there, how easy it is for us to kick a door in, prone out somebody from Pelican Bay, and take care of our business, but yet crossing that line and asking for help. It's like we all remember. Do you remember carrying all those resource cards around? We have those resource cards.
Sure.
And we'd hand them out to everybody on the street that ran into. Okay, you need medical help here. This is free. Go there. Go call these people. You need housing here. Go here. Call these people. Whatever you need, food. Here it is. But then when it's our turn, I've had people, myself included, I've had people say to me, I was that guy that I'm that police officer. I'm that, paramedic that's handing out resources to everybody. And now I'm asking for help. And I feel just like the person that I was on the street. I'm at that level now, and yep. I get it. I always want to encourage them, that they're not alone and that they will feel better. And the first step, and believe it or not, and as corny as this sounds, it is true. The sooner you start talking about it,
right,
the better. The sooner you start talking about it, the better. And developing the people you can trust to talk to, your social support group. You've heard me say before, and this is from the Jungle Book, for the strength of the wolf is the pack, and the strength of the pack is the wolf. And you think about that some, it goes both ways. And it's really important. So you're right on, developing that initial conversation is critical. And being real and blunt, this is painful what you're going through. And the good and bad news, the bad news is we can't fix this overnight. The good news is we can start fixing it today and start that journey, and we'll get there eventually. And offering these amazing people hope. A lot of times they can't see any hope anymore. They can't see hope for future.
No.
And to be able to hover there with them and say, lean on me. When you can't see the light of hope, I see it for you. So trust me and walk with me. Let's rest together. Let's figure this out. But I promise you, I see it for you. We'll get there,
And you look at these, a lot of guys, they get into the situation, girls too, where it's so surreal. They had this dream in their head to be a fireman, to be a police officer, to work in the field. And they get to a point in their life that they can't remember why they started doing it. The passion is gone. And it's so surreal to hit that, where now is there help for me? And a lot of departments aren't really prepared to give them direction. They might have a pamphlet also. Here, call EAP. This is the number you call. And there's a bunch of psychologists that are, sanctioned through our city, and you can go to them as many times. Well, I've had a lot of cases where they've gone to those EAPs, and a lot of times they had never dealt with a first responder before. They're on retainer, and the departments are just, and not to say that they're doing anything that they intentionally did, but maybe they are not vetted enough. I think it's extremely important to vet who you deal with, ask questions, be able to trust them, be able to trust what you're dealing with. So, because so many times we deal with people that are going to try to deceive us, and we don't know who to trust anymore.
Right. Absolutely.
And I really do try not to say, trust me. Because I never trusted anybody that said, trust me. I don't like that word because, and I laugh when I do say it, and I do say it once in a while, especially to the group of some of the first responders I work with. But They know over time. And I tell them, when you're ready, then you'll know when to open up. If you're not ready, then maybe you won't, but hopefully you'll gain some information and insight, so you'll be able to have a better, more productive and fulfilling life, and see things with a different lens. We went over a couple of days ago, I think it was last Friday, I talked to a group, and we talked about, changing our perspective, flipping it around. Instead of seeing all the negative, which we always see every day, we see in our department, our command staff don't understand us. Our fellow employees might be poking fun at some things, and they really hurt. And it's hard. How am I going to go to my buddy that I would die for when he's joking about this exact same things that are burning up in me? It's sort of hard if there's not some empathy there or understanding. Sure.
Especially when we've been on the same side before, when we've been poking fun too, because in these 911 professions, you cannot have thin skin, because it's just dog pile on the rabbit at that point. And it's all in good fun, and you start as a rookie and they're just on you, and then you go from being a rookie and then you kind of find your way. And then when someone says something or does something that's funny or whatever, you just jump all over them, and it is very difficult to, you can have your best friend sitting next to you in the briefing room, and you have been joking about things all your life, but because or you predict how they're going to take that information, because what's the best predictor of future behavior? Past behavior. Well, last time we talked about this, man, he really lit into me, so I don't know if I can even talk to him.
Right.
But I do encourage pushing through, right, and learning who you can talk to. So if you do talk to your partner and it doesn't go well, no big deal. Talk to somebody else. Keep trying until you find somebody. And your other point too, Mike, I love it when clients connect with me on the very first time and they absolutely interview me and they ask me questions about my experiences, what I've done, what have I done in my careers, why would I want to talk to them, why did I choose to get into this profession. And so, anybody that wants to be a therapist, that wants to specialize in this genre, be ready and be open, be absolutely open. The relationship is everything. I have never met a therapist yet who was not embraced by the 911 professionals by not being real and not being vulnerable. Like there can be a fine line between self-disclosure, what's clinically appropriate, what's not. And me, I'm pretty much an open book. If I think it pertains, if it's going to help build the relationship, game on. I'll answer anything,
Yeah. And that's really good that you talk to people that are interested in joining this field as a therapist, even if they weren't in the first responder field before, and they really are intrigued by it and they think they can help, or maybe they had family members. A lot of us, of course, and we like to tell stories. So if you start asking us about the fire, asking about the dead bodies and what happened in this standoff, we'll tell you. We'll be talking for an hour straight. Leave your office. You'll be like, wow, that's amazing. I've never heard anything so crazy. It's almost like watching, one of those shows on, Netflix or whatever. Right. But they'll leave their office saying, man, all they wanted to know is how I got shot, how I survived it, and what happened afterwards. It's not a crime show. And you never really dealt with their trauma, because a lot of us are suffering in silence, and we do have this trauma, and it's hard for us to say we have this. Like it's a weakness saying, oh, well, I have this trauma. Why can't I be strong like so-and-so? I was trained by this person and I was taught this way, but man, this one scene, it really has stuck with me for years. I'm having nightmares, and now I'm drinking. Now I've changed. I'm married, have kids, and I don't even know why I'm even in a relationship right now. I just want to be alone. And you start seeing yourself falling down that rabbit hole where you don't think there's any help and you're hopeless about it. That's when other people in your life hopefully will be able to step in and shine the light sort of in your way and say, look, maybe you need to talk to somebody in the nicest way and just dive into that, because it could take someone down and in suicide a lot of times. That's just one thing it's just horrible. and you hear about it all the time. But I don't hear about it in the news. CNN isn't reporting about all the officers that are taking their lives and firefighters. No, you think that would be headline news every time it happens, but no, it's not. I heard it through other channels. I, subscribe to other channels just for law enforcement and get information that way. But tragedy, it really is.
It is. And I know we talked earlier today, and when you mentioned that there was a recent event like that, yeah. I hadn't even heard about it. And it just shocked me, and it hurts my heart. It hurts all of our hearts when people go through that, and knowing that there's help out there and just get the conversation started. But I think there's such fear about what I'm thinking. Yeah, I'll tell everybody this too. Thoughts of when we were talking earlier about empathy too, and empathy overload. When you start feeling like you don't want to wake up anymore, or you just don't want to go to work anymore, or you're kind of going through this depression, or maybe having panic attacks about the whole work situation, and you start going down this. I wonder if I just wasn't here anymore, if it would be easier for me, or I pray at night that God takes me and I wake up the next day, but I'm still here. But I go to work, I put my foot down on the ground, I put the other foot down on the ground, I get up and I get coffee and I get going. It's such a sign of the person being worn out when they start feeling that way. Sure. When they have led a healthy life up until that point, going through, like we talked before, the grind of getting ready to go through an academy, going through a probation, finding the job that you love and you're getting paid for it, whether it's law enforcement or fire or EMS, whatever it is. But then all of a sudden something happens, and it's not enjoyable anymore. I think that's really the moment to pump the brakes. Hey, let's take a step back from this for a second. Let's not keep going down this road. What's going on? And I think another piece too is analyze your family of origin. Does suicide or depression or anxiety, does it run in my biological family of origin? If you know those pieces, because right. There's some research out there that says if suicide runs in your family of origin, there is a percentage chance, I don't know what it is, but there is a percentage chance that it can continue. And I'm not saying it's going to be you or you or you, but it deserves a conversation.
Sure.
And the sooner we can start talking about that, the better. I love it when clients come in and say, Jim, I don't want to mention this, but I wonder if I should even be on this planet anymore. And there's a fear, like, as a clinician, that like we have to walk that fine line of, well, are you a danger to yourself? Are you a danger to other people? Are you gravely disabled? And I always try to slow all that down, put my pen down and say, let's just talk, you and I. Let's just talk in hypotheticals if possible. Do you want to harm yourself? No, Jim, I don't. I have kids, I have this, but I don't like thinking this way, Right. Let's get some work done on that. Let's dive in. I think if I could just encourage people, if you're feeling that way, well, welcome to the planet. A lot of people are feeling that way, right? A lot of people are feeling that way, but don't suffer through it in silence. Don't suffer. You're suffering needlessly. Get the conversation started. And if you don't trust anybody at work, great. Don't trust anybody at work. Call Mike, call me, let's call anybody, get it going. Talk to your neighbor if you like them. Talk to a friend, get the conversation going.
It's so important to talk about, Jim, exactly what you're saying. And a lot of us, go into the field and we feel great about it. We feel that we're doing a service to society. We'll make a good living. We'll be able to have a family. We'll be able to have a house. We'll have a career and a proud team to work with. And then, like you said, something might happen along the way to change that. It could be an event. It could be several events that build up. We shove it down into our box, and pretty soon it starts overflowing, and we don't know what that is, and we're unable to deal with it because it's painful. And then a lot of times we feel that we're just a number. We're just a robot. The laws are starting to change against the favor of our autonomy as being a first responder. They're taking away some of our ability to help people. And we're seeing a lot of this going on in society. And pretty soon we might be thinking, well, maybe this world's better off without me. Suicide is, a lot of people think suicide is such a selfish act to do. However, on the person that commits suicide or attempts to, it's not selfish to them. It's selfless. But this world would be a better place without me. I would be a lot less pain. I wouldn't have to, keep on doing what I'm doing. My family would be better off if I wasn't around. My partners would be. Society would be. And you get so hopeless where you find yourself in this dark hole somewhere, and you're holding on to hope, some kind of hope. And that's when a lot of times people will be able to reach out to you. And as long as you reach out your hand, they'll grab a hold of it. Right. And we'll help you, and we'll love you until you start loving yourself again.
Absolutely. And, on that point, I always like to tell people, look, especially with the holidays coming up, this is a very fun, awesome, magical time of the year. You got all these holidays, Halloween, and the next thing you know, here we are. It's just a week away from Thanksgiving, which means we're just a month away from Christmas, which means we're right around the corner from New Year's. And if you're in a relationship, heads up, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. So you got, what is that, 5 or 6? You've got this is a big time of the year on a lot of different levels.
That gives me anxiety thinking about it. It still does. I still work on that every year. Every year around November, I'm like, oh Jesus, here comes Christmas again, New Year's. Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean,
hey, here's my number. Hey, Mike, give me a call. We'll talk about it.
Can you be my therapist at For Friends?
Sure, absolutely. You know how I roll. Let's go get a steak dinner. I'm all about it.
All right. We'll do it.
Yeah, and that piece about suicide, I always want to tell people, look, you leave something behind that's generational. You'll always be remembered as the uncle, the aunt, the father, the wife, the person who committed suicide. You may think you're doing the planet a favor, but you are not.
Yeah,
you're
it's
absolutely
so sad.
not.
It's so sad.
You're not for generations. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. You're right. It is for generations, and a lot of times departments will, sweep the rug over it, or sweep it under the rug. They won't even recognize it or talk about it. It is a shame. I've dealt, even people in our care in treatment, they've lost friends at their departments to suicide, and thank God they were with us. They're able to process it. It's a horrible thing to deal with, let alone dying in the line of duty or off duty. It's just losing one of our own. Yeah. And we call ourselves a family, to start treating each other like a family and not just a number, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish, you remember the law enforcement code of ethics?
Yeah.
We all had to memorize in the academy. I think I have I think I have the first paragraph. I will show courageous calm in the face of danger, scorn, and ridicule, and then the rest I can't remember.
Yeah.
But that was like the first one that's always stuck with me. And I wish they would add one more paragraph to, and I will cry when I want to cry at what I see on the job and what I experience,
Yeah.
And I'm the first to tell you, I've gone on some calls back in the day that just absolutely took my breath away. Every time you think you see it all, stand by, and I remembered several times. I was so thankful. Thank God I'm working nights. Thank God I'm at nighttime. I'm just going to pull over for a second. Man, I just wept about, the atrocities of what was going on the call that I was on. And I'm not going to say what they are on our show here, but
right.
It just struck me. But I remember also saying how better I felt when I was done crying,
Mm-hmm.
And that's my encouragement for everybody too. You'll see stuff. And it will just outwit, outgun, outmatch the coping skills that we have. And especially if you're in a busy city and you go like you were and like I was, you go call to call to call. It's like, I went to handle this tragedy, reset, go on to the next call, another tragedy, reset, go to the next call, and I was on I don't know what shift you were. I was on a 312 and
I was on a 312.
Holy cow, what a grind.
Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah. I love the days off. That's for sure.
The days off were good too. And I loved coming in on my days off. I liked overtime. Pretty soon it was, I identified that was my life. I was Mike the cop, and then I was Mike the husband and dad and everything. And however, I always identified as being a police officer, and and I loved it. I really did. But you go to call and reset, put the reports away at the end of the shift when you can. finish them off. If you can't, pen them to the next day. So every day I got to go back to work. I got to handle calls. I'm going to find time, usually when I'm eating lunch or doing something when there's no calls, I'm going to write out these reports or type them out and get them approved and get them sent through, and the deadlines, and it's a lot of pressure.
And the rewrites. I'll rewrite that. Oh my God.
Oh man, I used to turn in my reports the first couple of years, and my sergeant would it would be red. It would be more blue than red. They would, every line we'd circle it and indent here, and this doesn't make sense. And I pretty much had everything in chronological order. It's just I wasn't. But after that, I learned from them. I learned from every mistake where I was able to 3 or 4 years, I was hand them in, and I barely ever get anything kicked back to me. So I was proud of that. But it is a grind, because you'll be called to one scene as a police officer, and then it'd be a normal scene, whatever, like a barking dog complaint, loud party. And then you'd go to 1180, whatever it was, and be a large collision with, a lot of death or seriously injured people, and calling the fire guys, which that used to be my saving grace, man. When I get to those scenes, it was so hectic. As soon as, the fire trucks got there and the engines and we had everything secured. I don't mind chasing bad guys, fighting them, put them in cuffs, but they dealt with just the point of it all with the
Wasn't that such a great feeling of relief when you heard the sirens coming for you?
Oh yeah.
When you had air support overhead that was doing a low orbit, and you're like, okay, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
Help is getting very close,
Yeah. I loved it. I loved the team mentality. I loved the training. I loved the partnership, and everybody worked as a team. Everybody did their job. They loved what they did. It's just the aftermath of it, trying to put the pieces back together, and then having to go to court and having to get up on stand and being second guessed by a lot of people. It puts a toll on people for sure.
It does. And you nailed something a second ago that I'd love to circle back to. And it's this empathy piece, like we were talking about. And it can be a busy city, like where we worked at. It could be a slow, rural area. It doesn't matter. You have this, we have this empathy in us. We get into law enforcement because we care, we really care about the city, the county, wherever we work, we care about it. It's not just a paycheck. It can be just a paycheck, but we care about the people who live there. We care about the people getting hurt. We care about our partners. It's a really interesting, I'll use this word for a lack of better thing, romance in a way of just love and care for our dispatchers, who we know are sending us into harm's way and who are also scared for us. And waiting for us to say we're code 4, we're okay, and how many times we've gone through the roll calls when you've heard somebody scream into the mic and you don't know who it is, you don't know where they are, and you go this endless roll call, and there's all this tension involved in it, So when I do these workshops and I talk to law enforcement, for example, I tell them, my belief is the majority of us get into trouble because we are overloaded with our empathy. We have gone and given our hearts to everything, and there's science behind this too, how mirror neurons fire off when we are seeing trauma. We are feeling. How many times have you gone someplace and you get kind of like a tear in your eye, or you feel like anxiety coming on because you're in this horrible event suddenly, and we know from brain scan imagery that these mirror neurons fire off, where we're really feeling what's going on. Well, we only have so much empathy to give. And it's like, I can use the dispatchers as the classic case. They 911, how can I help you? 911, what's your emergency? Sure. Over and over and over and over again. And finally someone calls, it's just like being mean-spirited or being a jerk to them. And they just go off. The nicest dispatcher on the planet just goes off. And it's all recorded, right? So it's coming next, right? And the same for us on the street, paramedics, police, whatever. I contend that none of us wake up in the morning and go, how can I get in trouble at work today?
No,
it's not that at all. It's suddenly we are overloaded, overwhelmed, and our coping skills are outmatched, and we don't even know what's even happening to us.
Of course.
It is just, we are just yelling at somebody or doing things that we never intended to do. And that's why I like to, bring to awareness, what is that thing? Hungry, angry, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, right?
Yeah, right.
And I added a few more: sick, frustrated, command staff mad at me, all that stuff. It's important to recognize when you are running out of empathy. And where's the awareness? Jump in, Mike. I don't want to overtalk this.
Oh, you're doing great. It reminds me of like the term compassion fatigue. We're out there giving the help, we're giving the empathy, we're giving the compassion to people. And it's just so much that we can give before it starts building up in us. And if I don't watch for my self-care, even in my current job, what I do now is I have as much passion or more than when I first became a police officer. And I really love what I do. It's a different type of passion that I have, working with first responders. But I have to look at my self-care too. What am I doing? And that's what I learned early on in recovery myself, almost 10 years ago, is HALT, HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. You got it, man.
Right.
I love it. I went over that today with a group, and I call it out every time I can, because a lot of us never heard that term. And yeah, usually around 1:00 in the afternoon, if I feel out of sorts, if I feel something's up and I don't feel like feeling grumpy, I look at hungry. Am I hungry? Usually, yes. I haven't eaten anything all day. I had a cup of coffee, 2 cups of coffee, 3 cups of coffee. I've been seeing clients all morning, whatever the deal is. I'll have to stop and go to my stash where I have like peanuts or something to get me through until I can get like a real meal, unless I have one that I brought with me. Angry, am I holding resentments? Am I angry at something? Am I angry at my boss? Am I angry at my family? Am I angry at myself? Right. Lonely and tired. And tired is a big thing. If we're not getting a proper sleep, if we're not doing proper sleep hygiene, and we're not getting the proper REM sleep, we're not actually letting our body reset and recharge for the next day. If we're taking a Xanax or a Valium or whatever, drinking vodka before we go to bed, even if it's just for sleep, we're messing up our circadian rhythm, where our body's going to be out of whack, and we're going to be out of whack, and we're not going to be our best possible self. So I might say, I don't have an alcohol problem. I just drink at night. I don't drink during the day. I don't drive. Well, if you have to drink every night, it's just like if you have to take a Xanax every night to go to sleep, there might be something going on there. There might be a little bit more that you can do instead of taking a hard drug like that.
Absolutely. And I think it's really, you got to be careful on, it's so fascinating to me. We would go to work super tired because we didn't get the sleep that we needed. We didn't eat or drink properly the night before. And we would rather do that than take a sick day. And I'm always telling people, man, please take a sick day, because you're setting yourself up for disaster. You've got the public trust. We've talked about that before. You're carrying a firearm, and you're already worn out. You're already at your worst. What's your goal? What's your goal today? To just like be quiet all day long when you go into for your shift? Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, it's gonna go on without you. Life's gonna go on without you for that day. When you retire, you're going to be replaced by somebody else. There's always someone else stepping up. It's not that, you are just considered a number, but, you need to take care of yourself, because if I'm not well, I can't be well for anybody else.
Right. Exactly. And that transitions across to the command staff that gives you a hard time. Oh, wait, are you really sick? Just say, absolutely, you got it. Take your sick day, feel better, come back soon. Because there's people that you're going to put in for overtime. That there's other people that will take it. And if the team runs short for a day, well, welcome to the planet. That's just, it happens sometimes,
Well, working in the field, and my boss I'm working with now, and he's a friend and he's a doctor, and he's the CEO of First Responder Wellness. I mean, the whole team take self-care days. If you need to take self-care, we'll cover you. We got you. We want you in the best shape. If you need to take a vacation, we'll figure it out. We'll work with it. We have to make sure that we're all on the same page with that. So it's a blessing.
Sure. Why isn't that the mantra? That should be over every watch commander, supervisor, whatever. It should be ingrained to them. Put it on their wristband, write it on a black Sharpie on their hand. We got you. I'm calling in sick to work. It's already hard enough for me to call in sick to work because I don't want to take a sick day because I know there's peer pressure. We got you. Take
Yeah.
your day off. And if you need a day tomorrow, take another day off. And I'm not saying take advantage of it, because there's plenty of folks that may want to do that, but take it case by case. You know your people. You know who doesn't call in sick.
Right. Yeah. Don't make it something where you have to do it on the sly and lie about it. It's just like have a unit where it's trusted. Like we need to make sure our guys are okay. And when I say guys, I do mean women too. I just happen to, I don't equate it as just the male part of it, but I do include, there's a lot of really great women and men that are working in this field that are doing the best job they possibly can. And if the supervisors and the managers aren't noticing that, and they're honing in on maybe the negative aspects, but it's so easy to see something negative in someone, but it takes a different level of, I don't know, human sophistication to actually give out that empathy to someone and say, you did a really good job. Or, yeah, that was a horrific scene. You went to this accident, you went to this death or suicide, and we need to talk. There's no like, do you want to talk? It's like, come on over here. Let's take a little break. Take a little breather. We got your beat covered. And let's work through some stuff. If you can actually have someone that you can trust, maybe a chaplain. The chaplain services in the fire and police departments are excellent resources. They're not going to convert you to Catholicism or any kind of other religion. They pretty much they're open to all religions. They don't actually state that, but they're there as a guide just to listen to you. So.
And how great was it when we had these debriefs, and generally it was like on these big calls we went on, we'd have debriefs, right as the shift was changing, we'd get a little more overtime. Hey guys, stick around. Let's unwrap this, says the command staff. And it was epic because you'd have the dispatches in there and we'd be in there. And it was funny because a lot of the stuff is fear driven. I was afraid you were going to die. Yeah. I was afraid this was going to happen. I was scared that this was going to happen, And it's really wonderful to hear that, it wasn't just me that was scared to death on that call. It was everybody that was scared to death on that call. And you never hear that stuff. You never hear that because you're so busy going call to call to call a lot of the times, And those debriefs are really, really valuable. That self-awareness we've talked about before, Mike, is really important. Like being aware, like you talk about HALT. Gauging all that, taking a step back. This isn't the day that I'm going to get in trouble. I need to slow myself down. I need to really slow myself down, and maybe I need to take the day off. Yeah, that kind of thing. I can tell you, every time I got in trouble, it was because I wasn't paying attention to myself. I wasn't paying attention to what was going on around me and within me. And I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I knew then what I know now about, self-awareness and emotional regulation, coping skills, outmatching the empathy that we have in us,
What I remember of debriefing is they would say, okay, well, let's meet next Tuesday on our first day back, and we're going to meet before briefing and debrief this incident that happened on Friday. No one wants to do that. No one wants to. And we knew, even when we're on calls, when I worked UC and we're doing this case and it's, pretty much wrapping up in the middle of the night or 4:00 in the morning. And Sarge, we're going to do a debrief. Yeah, let's do a debrief Monday morning. Well, shit, it's Saturday night and you're going to be holding on to, what are you going to remember Monday? Are you going to really want to go? Right. Most of the time it didn't happen and I didn't want to go. So it's good what I think the best plan could be was have a contingency plan where you have enough officers on call or detectives on call, say, hey, a big incident happens, pull the main officers out when they're able to be pulled off and offer them assistance. It might be, hey, I don't need anything right now. Thank you for the information. At least they know there's help available and you care.
Right. Absolutely. And there was, in my department, they would say, okay, guys, we're going to do a debrief at the end of our shift at this time. And what the watch commanders would do, they would talk to the incoming team and say, your briefing is going to be short. You're going to go right out and get 10-8. You're going to go right into service so we can, and we all knew, like we all had each other's backs. Something happened today. Yep. Let's get these people in because they're going to talk about it today, And then we also have that. It's funny. I forgot about this. We had the department psychologist that would come in, and I used to, oh my gosh, I when I was a young, and if you guys could see me, you can see like rubbing my eyes when I think about this story. When I first met our psychologist, I just thought, this guy is crazy. This guy, where did they get this guy at? You know, that's all I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. But when he showed up at the briefing, I changed my tune. This guy had so much knowledge. I sat there and stared at him. I go, I know that's the same guy I met when I got hired, but I had no idea how great he was at working through situations and processing and coming up with ideas and goals and stuff. So I'm a big fan of the debrief, and the research shows instantaneous debrief. Don't wait days. Don't wait. It's futile at that point. We've already solved it by drinking or whatever, you know.
Sure.
It's kind of a done deal, but you want to hit it while it's hot.
Yeah.
You know, Mike, we talked before. Do we have time to do a little transition into the holidays? Are you cool with that?
Of course, definitely.
Awesome. One of the things that was on my heart, because you work in the industry too, and you know, I was on a bunch of clinical teams in treatment and recovery, and I mentioned before about all these big holidays coming up. And one of the things I like to work with clients that are in treatment and recovery on is getting the conversation started about the holidays, getting it out there and getting a game plan together. For example, like Thanksgiving's coming up. Let's talk about Thanksgiving, talk about Christmas for a second. A lot of times, these are very, very emotional holidays, and we see a lot of relapse on these holidays. And the sooner we can get the conversation going, and the sooner we can come up with game plans that work, the better everyone's going to be. I always look at holidays, even if I'm having a bad day. I have this mantra in my head. This is just a speed bump day. I call it a speed bump day.
Sure.
I'm going to hit it. It's going to get hot. I'm going to go over it at some point, and then I'm going to get down to the other side of this thing, you know. Mm-hmm. Or like I talk about life being cyclical versus linear, that I don't think it's necessarily 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I look at it more in the lines of, I woke up this morning, it was a great day. And then Mike called me up and said he wanted to do a podcast. I got scared. So now I'm down here. I'm afraid right now, you know. Oh, Mike's really good at this. I forgot how great he was. So now I'm back.
Jeez.
You know, right? I'll do anything for a steak dinner. But
anyway, no doubt, man. Keep going.
But you know, just like the holidays coming up, for example, there can be a lot of excitement coming up to it. And there can be a lot of dread for a lot of great reasons. Or there's the euphoria you feel over the holidays mirrors the euphoria you feel when you're using. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of relapse because of that during the holiday season. So I think it's important to get the conversation out there. Back when I was a kid growing up here in Oceanside, California, there was this radio station, this AM radio station, KUDE 1320 AM. And they did Christmas music like the week before Christmas. And it was all Christmas songs all day long on the old AM, static AM radio, right? I would listen to these Christmas music and old time radio Christmas shows. And I was like, this is awesome. But I noticed something on midnight, Christmas. So it's Christmas Day, the 25th.
Right.
At midnight, they do this signal. What is it called? They do their station identification, and it goes right back to their normal radio station at that point. Yeah. And I thought, how weird. Christmas just ended, like the curtain came down and it's over. And I help people see that, you know, Thanksgiving's coming up. If you struggle with Thanksgiving, all you got to do is get to midnight. Mm-hmm. Because at midnight, it's over, you know. At Christmas, all you got to do is get to Christmas at midnight. And then at midnight, all the stress comes off. I'm like, don't you feel, isn't it interesting? The day after Christmas, you're like, you know, I miss Christmas, but I'm glad the pressure's off.
Man, I tell you what, I love January 1st or 2nd. I love the beginning of January. I know Christmas and the holidays is almost a year away from me. It's with me. I've always felt stressed through the Christmas season. Yeah. And there's been a lot of, you know, horrific things that I've gone through on Christmas, working and personal things too. But however, it's the buildup of, you know,
right.
Getting who am I going to get presents for? I have to buy this. we're going to go to this person's house. My family's over here, but I want pulled over. I want to stay with my family here. And there's just so much expectation. There's a lot of stress that gets put on us. And especially if we have to work those days, a lot of times the first 5 or 6 years of a career, you're working every Christmas, you're working every holiday. It's like, all right, well, you're the low man on the totem pole. You're going to put in for it. And the senior officers are, taking a week off, 2 weeks off, and they take that time off with their families. So it could be built up with some resentments. Thanksgiving was always my favorite holiday. I love Thanksgiving. I just love the family. I love this. I have good memories as a child for Thanksgiving, and Christmas too.
It's funny because like as a kid, I love Christmas, but as I get older, I love this kind of pre-Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving era a bit more than Christmas because it's just not as stressful. It's family, it's connection, it's a nice dinner, a lot of overeating, a lot of football. I enjoy that a bit more than all the pressure that goes into the Christmas, and it's all so unnecessary too,
It is.
I love to encourage clients. I heard this a long time ago at the church I used to go to. They talked about the Christmas colors being red and green, and it's also the sign of like the our stops, our signal lights, red, yellow, and green, and to try to make the holidays, kind of more of a red light holiday where you slow down and enjoy and you breathe through both nostrils and you don't keep your foot on the gas to do everything and go everywhere and put so much stress on yourself.
Right.
So you can get your choice. Do you want to make it a green light Christmas where you just go crazy, or do you want to slow it down and pump your brakes and kind of enjoy the season? What are your thoughts, Mike, on how to, I'm going to blindside you on a question. And it's unfair because I've got my bullet points that I wrote down in front of me. So
go ahead.
What's your thoughts on what should your clients do to prepare for the Christmas holiday season if they're in recovery? What jumps at your heart?
I would first look at where you're going to be. If it's a substance use issue where you're trying to stop drinking, you're in recovery yourself, and you're going to be around it. Possibly avoiding the situations that are going to be involved, or asking your family members, hey, look, if they're supportive of you, I'd appreciate it. I know it's a holiday, but if you're drinking, it's going to bother me and I'd rather not be there. I love you, but it's going to affect my sobriety. I don't want to put anything in front of my sobriety. If a glass of wine or someone toasting is going to trigger me, into God, I wish I could do that. I wish I wasn't an alcoholic. I wish I could drink just one drink and not have to drink the whole gallon.
Right.
It could be a very dangerous time. Also, the months, winter months, the November, December, the holiday months, it could put us into a little depression too. A lot of things, the holidays bring back memories of family members that are no longer here, friends that might have gone, friends that had some hard times, loss of a job or a career. Yeah, it could be a very painful time for people, and that's where a lot of people do. They might relapse over it, but if they're able to get through that time and really dig into their recovery, whether it's you're going to a clinical meeting a week, or you're seeing your therapist, and you start waning off of it, like, well, maybe I'll just do twice a month. Oh, maybe I'll just do once a month. And you know what? I told Jim I'm just going to see him every 2 months. I'm just going to check in with them. If you feel yourself slipping away from your recovery program and you're starting to do the old habits before you do the main thing that you used to do, like drinking, try to get back into it as soon as possible, because eventually you will drink.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a critical time clock ticking on that. When you get that point of, kind of backing down and cutting corners, that's the moment in time to realize I'm backing down and cutting corners, and I want to go in the opposite direction as quick as I can. Yeah. I'm always a big fan of pre-planning for these events. So folks, that are in early recovery, what are your options on the holidays? If you don't feel comfortable, or it's not a wise move to go with family, then what else is out there? There's so many meetings going on. Do the research, find out where the meetings are. I think a lot of the meetings are back in person now. I think we've gotten through all the all the COVID stuff now, right? So the meetings are
A
there.
lot of it is, I still have my Zoom on Sunday nights for first responders only. It'll always be Zoom now since COVID. And I think to have a safety plan set up, have an exit plan. Like if you and your wife and family are going to a relative's house or a friend's house, and there might be some friction, there's a possibility that, hey, something's going to go on, have an exit plan. Hey, honey, I'm going to take my car. We'll follow each other there in case I need to leave early. You know why? I'm getting triggered. I'm just going to go step away from the situation.
Absolutely.
And numerous times that's helped with people I've worked with.
Absolutely. And, and as far as that's a great point, Mike, and have your spouses, have your partners reward you for that. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Go and stay in touch with me, but I'm going to reward you for being such a heads up person and taking care of yourself, whatever that reward looks like. It can be eggnog, it can be romance together, whatever it is that will help you as a couple do that again and again and again, and continue that kind of behavior, that wisdom. Even for me, I'm pretty much on the normie side of the tracks on things, but even on my side of the tracks, I will step away from a party if I feel I'm getting triggered. It's not going to lead me to drink, but it's going to lead me to want to kick someone's ass, And I just, this isn't the hill I'm going to die on. I've got more going on in my life. I'm not going to put all the hard work, all the education, all my degrees and all my licensing at risk. That's just not going to happen. I can go in another direction and be very, very happy, But that took a lot of work to get there, right? There was a time when I would be in your face in a heartbeat. And it's just not, I say that super powerful when it's an emergency and it really, needs to be done with someone being threatened or something. Plan activities too. You mentioned earlier, Mike, about the importance of balance, the importance of working out the stress, have your day kind of structured. I'm going to get up, I'm going to go for a workout, I'm going to go do these things, I'm going to call my sponsor, I'm going to, do healthy things for yourself.
It's just doing it. The self-care is, I'm just like anybody else for myself. I hold myself to a higher standard sometimes, but I don't expect anybody else to match me. And there's a lot of other people that are better at what they do in their self-care. But when I put my mind to something, I make a commitment to myself. Yes, I'm going to start waking up at 4 in the morning. I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to run, or I'm going to walk first. Then I'm going to take a shower. Then I'm going to go to work. I'm going to make a plan, at least, and try to get into a good habit that way. At least 4 or 5 times a week, doing something that's that exercise, eating well. Right. Not totally cutting out all my junk food, but not overdoing it when I eat it. So and just being mindful of the moment, and as long as I'm not putting in something in my body that's going to change my perception of my reality on purpose, I'm good. I'm fine. Every morning I wake up grateful. Just like we talked earlier too, off record, about waking up and being grateful and starting your morning. I mean, you have a ritual yourself. You talked about starting your morning off with a ritual of meditation and whatnot. And I think it's so important to start a day off that way, even if it's for 5 minutes.
Absolutely. For my ritual, it's been this way for most of my life. I'm like Mike knows me. I'm always been an early riser. I don't need an alarm clock. I'm pretty much up at 4 o'clock every morning. And my first cup of coffee is just me and God talking, and I'm listening to God, and I'm getting my head kind of on my shoulders for the day. And if I'm not on my A game, I get a gratitude list going really, really quick. This always works for me. What am I thankful for? What am I thankful? And it's basic. I am thankful that I have hands that can hold this mug of coffee. I am thankful that I have a home that's warm and safe. I've got running water. I got some money in the bank. I'm good. I'm good where I am. Let me start there and be thankful for, the basics of life. I think it's important. It always resets my day.
Right.
And I'm also normal. I may not be having a good day today. That's okay. What do I always say? Welcome to the planet. Then if I'm not having a good day and I can't turn it around, well, I'm not going to have a catastrophic day. I'm going to do what it takes to get through this day. And let's just see how it cycles around. At some point, I'll be back on top of the world again, Yeah. And what always helps, and this is what I love about us, like the chances we get to talk off record, the chances we get to kind of connect, even now, it's a ton of fun your support team is so important. Knowing who you can call at any time of the day or night that's going to pick up. right? And then if
Exactly.
that person's sleeping, well, who else can I call? Who else? Having that, the strength of the wolf is the pack. Having your pack, knowing who they are, having the numbers. This is why I'm always preaching. When you go to meetings, when you meet new people, go introduce yourself. Go get some phone numbers of the people you connect with. Ask them if we can get to know each other. It's really important because when you start talking, you feel better. I've never seen it fail. Yeah. Hey, you know what, Mike, I'm having a bad Christmas day. What's going on, Jim? I'm just having a rough morning. And you start talking it out. And the next thing you know, an hour goes by, you feel better. Yeah. And you get on with your day.
And it's picking up that phone. It is so important. And it brings me so much joy and thankfulness. It happened a couple Saturdays ago. A guy I know, he has some mental health things that he's dealing with, PTS and whatnot. And he actually picked up the phone and called me. And I always offer myself to everybody. I go, hey, call me. I know you're going to have a weekend. This is what's going on. You might get stressed up. Pick up that phone. Just call me. Don't worry about it. Don't say I'm worried about bothering you at 10 o'clock at night. If I don't answer the phone, I will call you back as soon as I get your message or as soon as I am able to. But, my phone's available to you 20. And he did call me, and I picked up, and I knew right away when he called me, hey, there's a reason why he's calling me. And we walked through some stuff. We walked through some grounding exercises, and he followed direction really well. And it got him through that moment and that day. And it's such a huge accomplishment with someone to be vulnerable and to try new things, especially things we don't want to try, like going to meetings. You said meetings, like what kind of meetings you going to? Well, let's say you're an alcoholic, or if you drink too much, you don't want to label yourself. You abuse alcohol, and there's meetings. Alcoholics Anonymous, there's smart recovery meetings. They don't talk about God. They don't have the steps, which I think the steps are wonderful. I work them and I try to incorporate in my life every day. And everybody really could benefit from that if they are able to work those steps. Don't worry about saying you're an alcoholic. Put whatever else in there. And then being the opposite of addiction. You know what the opposite addiction is?
Oh man, you're testing me. Not addiction.
Exactly right. Yeah. The opposite addiction is not a recovery. The opposite of addiction is community. And if we can be part of a community, we are human beings. We're pack animals. We are made, designed, just happen to be here as human beings. And we are animals. We need to be in our pack, like the wolves, right? We're not made to be solo and taking off, but our addiction wants us to separate from the pack. Our addiction, and I'm not just saying drugs and alcohol. It can be any addiction. It could be money. It could be the distraction. It's a lot of times it's just a symptom of the underlying pain that we're holding in. It could be from childhood. It could be from the careers that we had. It could be some critical things that happened to us, or that we have done, or we probably should have done, and maybe we're regretting it. A lot of times those things like alcohol addiction, sexual addiction, some kind of gambling, whatever is process addictions. There's a lot of process addictions out there that are involved with drugs or alcohol. We can't figure out where it's coming from. We think maybe it's abnormal, but it seems right for us. There's a lot of people suffering from that aren't willing to talk about it. And so a lot of times we cover it up, and it just gets worse and worse. So I'm just trying to stay focused and grateful for that moment and get through it.
Right. You're spot on about that too. It's what did I learn at one of my clinical teams? They were talking about it one time in this recovery center I used to work at. Where do the smart zebras run? In the center of the pack. It's the outliers that get picked off.
Yeah.
By the threats, the lions and stuff like that. And the same is true for our walk in life. Yes, there are times when I like to recharge. There are times when I feel like I need to take a step back and take a nap and just be by myself and kind of regroup and recharge. But that's different than isolation. Isolation always gets us in trouble when we're just thinking and overthinking and getting deeper and getting more lost in our thoughts, And that's why it's really important to communicate and talk to people. Sometimes, you know, I always like to tell clients, hey, what do you need from me right now? Do you need me just to listen, or do you need wisdom? A lot of times the clients go, I just need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
I just need someone to connect with. If you could just listen to me, bring it on, brother. You know, bring it on, sister. Let's go. Let me hear. And then I'll circle back and check in. Hey, thanks for sharing that with me. Did you want me just to listen? Are you good? Or did you need some advice? Where are you at now? Nah, Jim, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Wonderful. Or they may reverse and say they could use some wisdom on that.
Yeah.
You're spot on, Mike. You're spot on. You know, don't, you guys know the difference between isolation and just taking a little bit of downtime.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you're isolating yourself, you know, you're in it, and just like they say in recovery, stay in the center of the herd. Because if you're in a herd of animals, we're animals. If you're in your tribe, the ones that are, you know, going off on their own, and I'm just going to go this way and check out the river, you know, you might get swallowed up by something. You might not make it back. And if you do make it back, guess what your tribe is going to do? They're going to put you in the center and heal you and be there with you. And you might want to run back out again. And the tribe will let you do that. But there's only so many times you can run before you're tired of getting beat up.
Absolutely.
And just trust the process and start trusting yourself. And I want to say one thing. Another good term I've learned over the years in recovery is you can't keep what you don't give away. I love that saying. You can't keep what you don't give away, meaning that any information that I have, I'm not holding on to it like it's my precious diamonds and whatever, you know, that I'm holding on to. You can't have my secrets of my recovery. I want to share my recovery. Whatever worked for me, some of the things might work for you, or it might, you know, spark something in your brain that says, I like that concept, but here's how I'm going to apply it. Perfect. That's what I do. Everything that comes out of my mouth that I remembered, I formulate it to what I think my life could be better at. And not that I want to run the show and do it just my way, but how I interpret things is a little bit different from maybe how you interpret things, of course.
Yeah. Right.
So, you know, you can't keep what you don't give away means I found out what the secret is for me in active recovery. The number one thing that I've learned is to be 100 completely honest with myself, trust my heart. And that's called rigorous honesty. So if you read the AA Big Book, you read other works, maybe not even related to recovery, but philosophy, honesty is where it starts. And if I could be honest with myself, it doesn't make a difference if you don't believe me, Jim, or anybody else does, because it's not my business. My business is what I think about myself. And if I could be true to myself, then I'm going to start liking myself a little bit better. And pretty soon I'm going to love myself again. And then I'm going to have a lot of hope, and I'll be able to spread that out and give it to other people, because I know how it is to be hopeless. And I know how it is to receive a little bit of hope that got to me where I am right now. And I hold a lot of gratitude for the people that helped me get to where I'm at right now. And a lot of them don't even realize it.
Yeah. And that's it, you know, and it's so funny. You go to a support group, you participate in a support group, and you might say, I don't feel like going to that group. I'm doing okay, or I really don't like that group, or whatever it is. But it's fascinating to me about how there's somebody out there that is going to that group that was looking forward to seeing you. Looking forward. You know, last time Mike was at this group, he said this. I want to ask him about that. Or you may say something at that meeting that saves somebody's life. How many times I've learned, you know, you look around that room and you might ask, or even in life, see that person over there? He saved my life. See that person over there? She saved my life. How? She said this. And it was what I needed to hear, because I was at my wit's end. And then you go down life a little bit further and you start saying, you know, see that guy over there? He saved my life. He saved my life. You know, I saved his life, but this guy saved my life. It's really awesome when you can get to that point of vulnerability and just being so honest. You know, folks in addiction, God bless them. They know they're the easiest to fool themselves and fool everybody else. It's just the nature of it, right? And when you can turn that corner and just get real, I am going to be so honest with myself. It's not even funny. I ran this group one time where I pretended that I was addiction. I was the addiction. And there was one client, there was like 8 or 9 of us in the room. I said, you're the addict, I'm addiction. And those people back there, those 6 people, they're your support team. And this is I represent the party that you really want to go to tonight. And
Right.
you're going to ask those guys, what are the options? And you know what those guys did automatically? They stepped around him and stood in front of him like the offensive line of like the Green Bay Packers.
That's amazing.
You know, and they said, you're not getting through. We forbid you, addiction, for getting even close to this guy. And I would try to walk right and they would shift. And I would try to walk left and they would shift. It brought tears to my eyes. I go, now that's a freaking support team.
I love it.
Right?
I love that, man. That is awesome. I'd love to run a group like that.
Oh, you got it, man.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to, I love, it's like somatic experiencing. It's like SE. I've known some people that have done that with groups. They do a lot of interactive things. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. You know, and sometimes you get people like that are going to be on the team that have been around a while. So, and you can even prompt them, hey, stand in front of him, block it off, let him see the importance of, you know. And then they also said, hey, don't go that way. Come with us over here. Come with us over here. Follow us. We're going this way now. We're going the opposite direction, right? So yeah, it was pretty dang epic.
Yeah, it's like codependency and the the family dynamics, right? Where you have the identified person, the addict or alcoholic or someone suffering, and you have all these people helping you, and you have your meetings over here and the chairs here, and they're helping you, supporting you, and you start giving those things up. Pretty soon, you lose all that support and on your own, thinking you could do it yourself. So, a lot of people do go in recovery and they get better and they feel better and they go, well, maybe it wasn't as bad, because pain has no memory, right? That's a good term where, you forget how bad it really was. And if you don't stay close to the center, chances are you're going to try to do it on your own. And a lot of us do, and not all of us make it. And I know how serious it is for me and how much I protect my sobriety and my recovery. And I guard it with my life. It's a life and death thing with me.
Well, I think that's wise across the board, and I think there's so much, whoever is watching this or listening to this right now, trust the wisdom that's out there. I'm not getting paid to be on the show, or Mike's not getting paid to put on the show. He does this out of the goodness of his heart. And he's very well connected in this profession, in this industry. And you folks that are listening, you can be just like Mike and turn all this around and find a career in chemical dependency counseling and just save lives, and do what you love and get paid for it if needed. But it all takes
so nice, man. You're making me blush.
Oh,
I was like,
man. You look good in red. It's one of the Christmas colors. Go ahead.
It's hard to hear nice things about you. It is for me too. And someone comes up and
just say thanks, man. Hey, I'll help you. Right, just say thanks. There you go.
Thanks is a complete sentence. Thank you.
Right. And just say, man, I receive that, because it's true. It's true.
I receive that.
There you go. Right deep into your spirit. And all of you out there, even the addict, even the guy that's in recovery, the girl that's in recovery that's got his first day in recovery. Nice job. Receive that in your heart. Don't let shame. The sooner we can get rid of shame and guilt, the better. Right. The sooner we can get rid of shame and guilt having any voice, the better. Trust me. Mike, and you, I know you'll say this, Mike. You're in the sweet spot of life. Look at the hard work it took to get where you are, but look how sweet life is. And this is why you want to have like a white knuckle grip on your recovery. Don't deviate. Stay in the sweet part of life. Good. I think I interrupted you. Oh, keep going. And he's got a nice eye. He's got a nice eye. In a manly man way, he's got nice eyes.
No, man. Come on. Look. It's hard taking compliments. And I have to work on myself, saying thank you, and no is a complete sentence. No period is a complete sentence. And saying yes to help when you don't really need it. And recovery is possible. And I was going to say something, but I totally lost my train of thought when you were saying all those nice things about me.
That's okay. But maybe are you urging me to say more nice things? Maybe you'll remember it.
Go ahead, do it again.
Absolutely. Well, one thing, and maybe this will help prompt you. I would want anyone that's listening to this to know that, in this county, I'm down in San Diego. Mike's up in Southern Orange County, but this number goes across the nation. I've tested it, and you can call this number the San Diego Access and Crisis Hotline, which is 888-724-7240. Once again, 888-724-7240. So If you call your support people and nobody's picking up, there's one more number where they'll always pick up, and get the ball rolling for. That's really important for clinicians to have, just in case they get a call that they need to get some extra eyes on it. Folks that are clients, folks that are just hearing this and need some help, need someone to talk to, reach out.
Yeah. And if you're a first responder, a police officer, call Copline 24/7 helpline. It's non-recorded, nonprofit organization out of New Jersey. And Next Rung, it's up here in California, I think Anaheim. And they work really good with first responders, firefighters, and they've helped numerous people. They really have. So
right, good. Did you remember? Did I shake your mind? Did you remember what you were going to say?
I have no idea what I was going to say. It was something probably really profound, but I squirrel off sometimes, and I just totally forget what I'm talking about.
That's all right.
It's okay, and it's okay. I'm human, right? I have faults, but I do appreciate you being on a show, Jim. You're an amazing guy, man. I really do hope that that I know you're helping a lot of guys. I've known some people that have gone through you, and that's crossed my path. And I'm telling you, Jim is definitely, I wish you could be my therapist. And I've said it to a few people. Some of the strongest referrals for therapists that I have in my life are really good friends of mine. You're one of them. And I'm saying, man, I wish I could pick one of them to be my therapist. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Anything else you want to add before we bail here? But we're going to pick it up. We'll pick it up monthly. Maybe we'll do one before Christmas too. How's that?
Oh, I'm on board. Let's circle back and reach out to each other. We'll make it happen. Mike, I so appreciate you. I love you. I love what you do.
I love you too, friend.
Thanks. I'll be praying for you, and I know you'll be praying for me. And I just want to wish you, just in case we don't get back in time for Christmas, I wish everybody listening, and I wish you and your family a wonderful Thanksgiving, a wonderful Christmas. And it's just an absolute blessing to connect with you. And thank you so much for your compliments. I receive them, and I appreciate them with all humility. Thank you.
Right on, Jim. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Take care, everybody. God bless.
Right on. Thanks for listening to Positive Connections Radio on the Mental Health News Radio Network. If you're having issues, you can do it alone. However, you don't have to. It takes courage to ask for help. How can we be there for others if we're unwilling to be there for ourselves? So until next time, be strong, stand up, speak your truth, and break the stigma.